is Lord. And he was such a nice Jewish boy. Jesus changed my life. And he's still in the life-changing
Our lives
business.
were both in the tank, heading for disaster.
The rules have changed when we proclaim Messiah.
Because real Jews don't believe in Jesus.
Well, God says the opposite.
I am still Jewish. That a pair of Jews beats a royal flush. Shalom, welcome to CrossTalk. I'm Randy Weiss. When we concluded our last episode, I made a comment about my father, who I loved very, very dearly. I had the best mom and dad. And I say that categorically. I don't think anybody ever had parents as good as mine. And I look at the kind of father I had, and I say to myself, I'll never be able to be as good as my father, but I have a role model, a pattern that I want to try and follow. Now, we didn't agree on the person of Jesus, but apart from that, we didn't really have a whole lot of disagreements. Well, since about 1968, we had a pretty big one in '68 over the Democratic National Convention, but that's another story. This isn't a time for me to be facetious because I don't have my father anymore. I don't have my mother anymore. And the truth is, I was disowned by my parents because of my faith in Jesus. But that's not the story today. That's not what I came here to tell you. I made a comment about a question my father asked. The day that I came and told my parents that I believed in Jesus was one of the worst days of my life. And my father pointed out Hitler and the Nazis and how we lost relatives. I mean, we had people in the camps, and we have relatives who survived the camps. How could I do this? It's a shanda. It's a scandal. I am a traitor. The issue being, those people were Christians. The people who killed the Jews were Christians in the eyes of my father. And I said to my father, that's not true. They just thought they were Christians, or they just said they were Christians. They weren't Christians, because Christians wouldn't do that. Well, I personally spent many years following that conversation, researching and asking the hard question, trying to prove to myself that my father was wrong. They weren't Christians. And the conclusion that I came to was very hard for me to swallow. There were many Christians. Maybe they were bad Christians, but they were Christians. There were Christians in the Crusades who killed Jews. They did it with a holy fervor. There were Christians among the Germans. It was a German nation. There were Christians in Spain during the Spanish Inquisition. We might not feel they were good Christians. We might feel they were deceived, deluded, confused. But you know what? To a victim, it doesn't matter. And we've been victims. To the victim, they're wearing a cross. To the victim, they were just Christians. And that's how so many Jews think of Christianity. And one of the main purposes of CrossTalk, and why I am in ministry, I'm in ministry for two reasons: to declare Jesus, God's love, what He's done, and to help the church be better equipped to be credible Christian witnesses. We have Jeffrey D. Miller with us today. Jewish evangelist, former radio, TV expert, host, news anchor, a media guy, and a man who loves Jesus.
Amen.
We've been talking about some of these things, and it's important. It's just important stuff.
Yeah, Randy, as a guy who was an atheist for 24 years and came to know Jesus, and we're sitting here both as Jewish men who came out of darkness into his marvelous light, but differently than some of our Christian audience, because they had heard the name Jesus growing up and just took them a while till they embraced him. Not so with us. We didn't hear the name Jesus. When you have a fascinating testimony. When you grew up in your Jewish home with your loving parents, how was your Jewishness? What did you think of your Jewishness as you grew up?
Oh, it was so important to me. I was not just pleased and proud to be a Jew. It was our life. It was important. It was valuable. Our life revolved around synagogue and family. My grandparents, my father's mother and father were, Orthodox, very observant. And wow, I mean, life was just about the mishpacha, about the family.
So you absolutely embraced Judaism.
Oh, yeah.
Did you enjoy synagogue?
Yeah, I did. I started, had some interesting opportunities. One of my Hebrew school teachers when I was in Hebrew school was David Steinberg, a pretty famous Jewish comedian of the era. Okay. And he was a religious Jew, and he apparently was maybe having a rough patch in his Hollywood career, I don't know, but he was teaching at our synagogue, and I was in his class, and he would come and bring his guitar and sing Pete Seeger songs.
In Hebrew?
No. Everything was Jewish to Jewish people.
Right.
Our life just revolved around what we believed and how it affected us.
Did you live in a Jewish neighborhood?
No. I grew up in Gary, Indiana, and it was probably 1/3 black, 1/3 Hispanic, 1/3 white, and then amongst the whites, there was a small percentage that were Jewish, but we hung out together.
How did the Christian community interact with you, or rather, how did you interact with them? Was there much proselytization? Was there a lot of people witnessing to you when you grew up?
None.
They let you alone?
Yeah. It's interesting that later in life, I joined a rock band in 1965, and I was just a teenager. For my bar mitzvah, I got enough. You get gifts at your bar mitzvah, and sometimes you get a fountain pen. Today, I am a fountain pen. That's a Jewish thing. You'd had to been there. You know what? I rarely get to talk about these things, and I appreciate you asking me the question. We need to take a short break, but when we come back,
I'll ask more.
Okay, that's way cool. Please stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of A Pair of Jews Beat a Royal Flush. If you'd like to receive the next episode in this series, request it by name, Part 11 of A Pair of Jews Beat a Royal Flush. We'll send it to you for a contribution of just $10. Give us a call at 1-800-688-3422 or look us up online at crosstalk.org.
And I will bless those that bless you and curse those that curse you.
If you're like me, you've probably heard that scripture since you were young. But one might ask, what does this really look like? Well, there are two ways that you can bless Israel in a very tangible way. One of those ways is to go. The other way is to plant trees. You see, Israel is a modern miracle in the desert of the Middle East because believers like us plant trees. So I'll ask, do you want to bless Israel? For every $25 contribution that you make, we're going to plant a tree in your name, and we'll send you a certificate that you can hang on the wall and display proudly that you're standing with and you have blessed Israel. So give me a call at 1-800-688-3422 or visit us on the web at crosstalk.org. Let us know how many trees you want to plant. And if you're able, join us on our next tour of the Holy Land and plant one with your own hand.
Well, I'm really glad I stayed tuned. I hope you are, because I want to tell you what happened. You asked me a question about...
At your bar mitzvah?
Yeah, well, for my bar mitzvah, I got maybe $300 after whatever you get in gifts and whatever gifts you get that you take back.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I had about $300, and I went down to Jack's Pawn Shop, downtown 16th and Broadway in Gary, Indiana, and I bought a drum set, and I bought a guitar, and I bought an amplifier. And, $300 went pretty far in 1965. And I immediately was in a rock band. And that affected the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. It was fun. And the thing that occurred was we started playing at all the bar mitzvah parties. I had people contact me on Facebook last week. Hey, you played at my bar mitzvah party.
Now, when you got involved, were you a good kid?
I was a good kid. My mom used to, I was her joy, I didn't realize my name was Randy because she just had so many other nice things to say about me,
Well,
Schick wel naches.
Yeah, uh-huh. So you were such a mensch, and you were blessed. Something started to go wrong in your life.
Yeah, I joined a rock band. After we got done on the bar mitzvah party circuit, ultimately I really fell headlong into rock and roll music, into drug abuse, into...
About how old were you when you started that?
I was 16, and I started doing LSD when I was 16.
Oh my goodness!
And that was really kind of, marijuana, hash. You move into amphetamines and cocaine and uppers, downers.
I'm guessing you were using your rock band money to buy this stuff. Worse.
Drugs were expensive. Mm-hmm. And if you could buy wholesale, you didn't have to pay retail.
Multi-level marketing, yes.
It was a multi-level marketing plan. I'm embarrassed to say that I was a reasonably adept. I used to buy drugs and sell drugs so I could have drugs.
Did your parents know?
I think they guessed at that time, because my life was just, I was becoming different. At about 16, that's when my mom said things went bad. Mm-hmm. Up until then, I was an angel, and after that, I wasn't such an angel. And I had an illicit lifestyle. I went to the same high school. I went to the same school from kindergarten. I graduated from that high school, but first I got kicked out. I was kicked out my last semester of my senior year, and I had to actually go to another high school to complete the classes, and they said they'd give me my diploma from there. I didn't really do anything bad to get kicked out. I had led some demonstrations against the war, and it was kind of dishonorable to... I was an athlete, and it was really frustrating because I'm not saying I was a great athlete. I wasn't a great athlete, but in our small area, I was considered pretty good, and I won a lot of stuff. And it was not honorable for the captain of the swim team, most valuable player, all that stuff to be identified with bad things, and I was being identified with bad things, and it led to bad things.
Okay, but it wasn't the drugs that got you in trouble in school.
I did not get caught. Drugs got me in trouble with my attitudes about life. Mm-hmm. I had a completely... it got so bad. I was living with different girls and led to abortions. You know, you can't do horrible things. You can't kill a baby and not be altered. You can't begin to just lose your bearings and not be lost.
Was there a sense in you that you were doing wrong while you did these wrong things?
No, that's the shocking thing. You know, when I sold drugs, they were good drugs. I'm sorry.
I give you such a deal.
No,
I got a good drug. Yeah.
I thought I was doing something.
You were honorable in your drug dealing.
And it was expanding my mind. You could expand your mind too.
Yeah.
You know, there was an era that people were looking for other ways to think, and I was thinking other ways, and I was helping others think in other ways. You know the most shocking thing? So, you know, I'm a musician. I'm out doing a single, you know, solo. I go to bars and coffee houses, clubs, and play my guitar. I mean, I played on street corners. I'd pass the hat. I'd go to love-ins and and I go play my guitar, you know, and make friends. And people do stuff. And in that era, people did bad stuff, and they justified it. Just like in every generation, what we do that's wrong, we create a standard and say it's not wrong. What somebody else does is wrong.
And that's what is a lost and dying world.
Yes.
And we still have it today, and we always will, but we still have it, and you were part of it, and a willing part, and thinking, this is life, I'm doing good.
Yet throughout that time, God was so faithful to me. I mean, I remember I had a painted-up Volkswagen, and I remember events occurring where I would literally be so drugged up, I would overdose, and I would pass out. I got picked up in a park and carried home. I didn't know where I was or how I got there. I wasn't home. I was living with a couple of guys, a couple of gals, you know, just living ugly. That didn't bother me. But you asked about my parents. Did my parents know? At one point, my parents were so tolerant and so loving when I did not deserve love. Mm-hmm. I remember calling my dad one time. I had been out
Hold that thought, Randy.
Oh, we're out of time. We're going to take a break. I'm going to tell you about my dad and marijuana. Please stay tuned.
We hope you're enjoying this episode of A Pair of Jews Beat a Royal Flush. If you'd like to receive the next episode in this series, request it by name, Part 11 of A Pair of Jews Beat a Royal Flush. We'll send it to you for a contribution of just $10. Give us a call at 1-800-688-3422 or look us up online at crosstalk.org.
And I will bless those that bless you, and curse those that curse you.
If you're like me, you've probably heard that scripture since you were young. But one might ask, what does this really look like? Well, there are two ways that you can bless Israel in a very tangible way. One of those ways is to go. The other way is to plant trees. You see, Israel is a modern miracle in the desert of the Middle East because believers like us plant trees. So I'll ask, do you want to bless Israel? For every $25 contribution that you make, we're going to plant a tree in your name, and we'll send you a certificate that you can hang on the wall and display proudly that you're standing with and you have blessed Israel. So give me a call at 1-800-688-3422 or visit us on the web at crosstalk.org. Let us know how many trees you want to plant. And if you're able, join us on our next tour of the Holy Land and plant one with your own hands.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. I'm Randy Weiss. This is Jeffrey D. Miller. Are we having fun yet?
Yeah, we are. You know, Randy, it's so exciting for me to be able to help your audience who hears the wisdom that God gives you all the time, hear about where you came from. But you were just talking about your really bad, lost life with drugs and women and abortion and all kinds of stuff. And the question is, how did your parents react to all this? You know, they must have known something.
My parents were so wonderful. They loved me so much. It was like they looked at it, well, it's a phase. He'll grow out of it. everything was okay until I said I believe in Jesus, you know? But I got to tell you about my dad, because this happened, and it's such a strange thing. I was out hitchhiking with a Jewish buddy. We were hitchhiking around the country. We were actually hitchhiking across Canada, and we got stranded. It was bizarre, and we like 3 days we're stranded, and we're going back to the highway and then walking to a youth hostel, and there's just hippies everywhere, you know. I had hair about down to here and a long beard, you know. I looked the part. I was the part. I was the real deal. I was a mess, but I really thought I was something. I thought I was way cool. And anyways, until I can't get a lift out of this place. Mm-hmm. And I would go out to the highway, and nobody's picking me up because there's hitchhikers about every 30 feet. You know, there's hundreds of us. And I wrote one of my best BC, before Christ, songs. I laid out on the road with my arm on a fork stick, you know, and I'm just like with a sign. And, and it's like, I am not a motivated hitchhiker. It's like, I've given up. I'm going to be back at the youth hostel tonight because ain't nobody picking me up. Ain't nobody picking nobody up. There ain't enough cars in Canada to get us out of this spot. So all of a sudden I'm scared. It's like, I'm going to die here. I'm never going to get home. And it's like this revelation. You've never seen the bones of a hitchhiker on the side of a road. And I wrote a song, Bones of a Hitchhiker. And for several years, that was like that was the most requested song I did when I would go places. Hey, Randy, play Bones of a Hitchhiker.
When I was about 15 years old, my friend Bob Tilford and I took a bus to Minneapolis. Then we hitched the rest of the way into the Minnesota North Country. When I was older, I hitchhiked cross country by myself. I packed everything I cared about in a knapsack, grabbed my guitar, and moved to Denver, traveling by thumb. Nearly froze to death in an all-night blizzard outside of Omaha. Well, after finally arriving in Denver, I talked my friends into loading up their old VW Bug and driving us all to Mardi Gras. And then after the debauchery of New Orleans, I left my new friends and hitched a ride to Corpus Christi with some other hippies heading to the Yucatan Peninsula. Everyone in the party got visas to enter Mexico but me. I was deemed an undesirable. So I hitched back to Denver and moved to the mountains. I remember drunken rednecks throwing empty beer bottles at me on deserted mountain roads, screaming, "Hey, hippie!" And then after my Jewish pal Marty Vey and I hitchhiked across Canada, I got stranded on a road up that way, and that brings me to the time I wrote this song, The Bones of a Hitchhiker. Got a smile on my face and cold in my bones, waiting for a ride, 'cause my boots are full of stones, yeah. Thinking about a lift, 'cause the road is cold and lonely. If I don't get one soon, somehow this road is bound to mold me. Been here for a day or so, about to break down crying. If I don't get a meal today, I'll be just short of dying. Thing I can depend on, for it's worked till now like gold. You've never seen the bleached out bones of a hitchhiker by the road, no. I
think it's really true today. I'll get a ride from here someday. If I'm still here when you come by, slow down and talk or pass me by. It's almost like a second home. I just may stay, my thumb won't roam. But please don't let me be the one with the parched white skull and the skin bare thumb. You've never seen the last remains. They always seem to walk away. Sometimes you think you've just about died. Your thumb brings in the new daylight. Right next to dying, when you find yourself a-crying, well, here I am alone and weeping. The hitching from my bones is seeping fast. It's almost like a second home. I just may stay, my thumb won't roam. But please don't let me be the one with the parched white skull and the skin bare thumb. See me, please pick me up.
Because he loves me, I will live for him. Because he loves me, because he loves me, because he loves me, I will live for him. He loves me, I will follow him. Because he loves me, I will follow him. Because he loves me, because he loves